It's your boy getting early shit and reviewing them early. Getting them somewhere. With help of critic friends. But look at your boy. What's up, everybody? My name is Sebastián Productions, and welcome to another episode of Seba Reviews. And today I'm reviewing the first episode of, I don't know, people participating in this show? I guess some people out there are, not me. But a show people have been debating for quite a while now. It's an interesting concept of what is behind this. It's a different show from these other shows or anything you've seen in this big franchise. Of course, I'm talking about Marvel's What If. Okay, so just because I've said I was not anticipating as much, doesn't mean I wasn't anticipating in anything at all. I was kind of looking forward to what they're going to do with the show. When they did announce it on the Phase 4 slot of what's going to happen for the next 5 years of our fucking lives. When I saw that What If thing, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Of course, I know What If. If you don't know what the concept of What If is when they take already established stories or characters from Marvel and they kind of twist them around and do something different. Like, oh, what if Thor is a frog? Although that's an actual storyline. But oh, what if Dr. Octopus becomes Spider-Man? That's an actual storyline too. You know, things like that. Things to like kind of shuffle them around and kind of twist them around. Like, oh, what can we do with this? How would this world, how would this story be with these characters? Or what would happen if this happened besides this? It's always cool, and always DC always does that. It's not like Marvel is just unique to that, but it's like it's always cool to sometimes see like, oh, what if we put them like kind of like what happens if Batman fights aliens and predators? You know that shit? Kind of like that. So to see that Marvel Studios are kind of adapting that idea into their Marvel Cinematic Universe, although before I wasn't sure if it was actually going to be connected to anything, but you know, Marvel Studios is working on this concept. Doesn't have to be anything connected to the MCU, but just the idea of them making it. It's cool as shit. So I was kind of looking forward to it, but then I kind of see how it was going to be. I heard it was going to be animated, which is like, okay, cool. I would have liked if it was more, you know, the live action, use the actors that you already have, but it's fine. Maybe you don't have the same budget. They're gonna spend all the same money for everything. So maybe for this one's like, all right, maybe, man. Because I mean, the rest of the stuff is live action. I don't know why they couldn't do it for this one, but I guess maybe because it's a different kind of concept. It's not tied into the MCU. I mean, it is tied into the MCU, but not super strict with our timeline. This is like a multiversal thing. Then maybe they were like, you know what? We don't have to spend all this money on actors. Maybe you don't want to invest all that money as actors. I mean, we can bring them back, but we don't have to put them on his set. Let's just animate them. Because I was like, okay, you know what? Cool. I mean, as long as you bring those actors back, that's kind of cool. And then hearing that this actually ties into the MCU kind of makes it cooler. But you know what? As long as you kind of want to make them just as the movies, but you know, it's just animated form, that's fine. I just want the same quality as those films. And then I saw the designs and I was like, yikes. So I was just kind of on the fence, like, am I gonna like this? Am I not? I mean, the last thing I heard was just, since this is connected to the MCU, I was kind of actually like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna see it. Let's see how this works out. See if it does tie into the MCU. I just want to see what they do with the finished product. And thanks to some critic friends, if you're out there, you know who we're talking about. Thank you. I was able to watch the first 3 episodes of What If. So for this one, we're just going to talk about the first episode. And obviously, for every week that's going on, we're going to talk about each different episode. And before we continue, no spoilers are going to be in this review. None of that. We're just going to talk about overall, like the whole episode, kind of in general, not into any nitty-gritty details. I was going to say what this episode's about and if I liked it or not. What did I like? What didn't I like? That's a review, basically. So the first episode is What If Captain America vs. Avengers starred, instead of Steve Rogers as Captain America, it's Agent Peggy Carter as Captain America, or Captain Britain? I mean, they didn't really say it all, if I remember correctly, so I guess we'll just call her Captain Britain. But that's basically the concept. Like, what happens if Captain America vs. Avenger is Captain Britain with Peggy Carter? That's it. And that's kind of what doesn't work for me from the get-go. I mean, I get it sometimes that what if storylines are really what happens if this story was done in a different perspective or with a different character. What would happen if like maybe the villain is the hero, you know, stuff like that. And so in here they kind of took it a little too literal. I mean, sometimes it could be fun, but for this, it just didn't work completely for me. I mean, literally there were beat by beat some stuff that happened in that movie in this episode. I'm like, why? I mean, cool, but I already saw the movies. Just because you're putting some differences in here, this didn't really make it that exciting or that, wow, like unique at all. Again, you can sort of make some differences in here but still have the same storyline and kind of make it work, but for here it doesn't really work. That's just because, like, First Avenger, I'm not a big fan of that movie. I mean, I kind of semi-liked it, but even if they did the same thing with Winter Soldier, for example, it's like the same movie, just because you're putting me in a different character, unless you change a lot of things around and introduce some new elements, and maybe, but then here, aside from like, oh, maybe we'll add some differences, maybe we'll put some characters you didn't see before around this, and we'll do some stuff, we're adding some new elements, but it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough to make it completely different. So really, most of it was just kind of like, okay, this is boring, because I already kind of know what's gonna happen. I mean, they do put some things to kind of make it a little different, but it's just the same story, so it's just kind of uneventful and kind of boring. The twist of itself, like, oh, what if Peggy Carter became Captain America, or in this case Captain Britain? It was fine. I mean, it could have been the same thing. Maybe they did it with Bucky, but I don't think that would have been as exciting. But even if Red Skull became Captain America in this episode, I just wouldn't, like, who fucking cares? I mean, I get the idea, it is intriguing, but it's just, again, if it's the same storyline, then I don't care. And in this case, alright, cool, it's Peggy Carter, badass, she's strong, and she's huge, that's for sure, she's huge, but wasn't really much there. And the big problem, especially what I saw for this episode, is just the pacing is so quick, too quick. I mean, it's only under 30 minutes, like 32, 33 minutes. So they have to put all this shit quick out there, or condense a whole 2-hour, 1 hour, 40-minute movie into 30 minutes, which that's problematic. Unless you cut a lot of things out, but they were trying to cover all the major beats of that movie and condense in 30 minutes. It's very tough to do. It doesn't come out very well. It's like, oh, here's this, and then we'll jump it out to this, and then that, oh, we're jumping to this. So it's like, I don't have any time to breathe for these characters, to kind of expand on them a little bit more, spend some time more into this world. It's just like everything's just going out. It's like the 1 minute you have with this situation or this moment, it's taken out immediately because we're moving on. It's just, I couldn't invest with these characters that much, or couldn't care about these characters that much, because everything was just going by so fast, and that also kind of make this feel a little bit cheap. I mean, we'll talk about animation a little bit, but just it felt, and I told this to my friends, I felt more like I was watching a Disney animated short than an actual, like, event or Marvel Studios product. So it felt like I was just watching a short movie, animated one, and like, it just felt kind of cheesy at parts. That also did the writing, because this writing in this episode was not very good. It wasn't terrible, but some corny one-liners. I mean, you can kind of say, like, all right, they're in the 1940s. Some things are meant to be corny, kind of like in the first movie. Other than that, it's just like kind of corny sometimes. Some of the writing is not very good. It wasn't, the A game was not there, so it's like, that's not good. So that kind of makes all this product just feel cheesy. I'm not completely invested or connected to it. Pretty artificial. I just don't care. And the animation itself in here wasn't really a fan. I just didn't really like the designs. I really didn't like the movements of the characters. It just looks weird, like the cell shading kind of thing. It kind of looked like Telltale Games, but worse. That's what it looked like to me. I just didn't like how the way they looked, the lip movements, everything. It's just It's not to say that it's terrible. It's not like I can't see a frame of this. It's just, I'd rather see maybe 2D or something else. I know that they're trying to kind of keep it close to how the movies look and how the actors look in those films, but it just looks weird. Just find a different style. It just didn't work for me. So if this is getting season 2, hopefully it gets a different style, or maybe as we go on the season, I do enjoy it more. But man, at least for this episode, didn't like it. Especially the action. The action stuff wasn't good. I mean, some things were kind of like, okay, that's kind of cool, but just kind of stiff. Some stiff animation. I just don't really like it. Even the music sometimes in this episode just kind of felt cheesy too. So I'm like, what is this? What is this? It just doesn't feel like it's in that Marvel Studios quality. It just felt like a separate B studio kind of worked on this, and like, oh yeah, this kind of has to do with the movies. Kind of like, you know, little tie-in games, like, oh, they're supposed to be in the same world as a movie or whatever, but you can feel it's a very inferior product. That's what this episode was. And some actors did come back. Now, all of them came back for this episode. I mean, Haley Atwell reprises her role as Agent Carter, and I have to say, it took me till the after the episode to figure out that it was her. Because the whole time I was like, is that her? It kind of sounds like her, but doesn't really sound like her. Is this like an actor's kind of intimidating her? Like, what is going on? But then I found out, like, yeah, it's her. So I guess it's her performance wasn't really good here. It kind of, for me, it just sounded like maybe Haley Howell wasn't completely invested in the script. Maybe she just wasn't really liking it. Maybe it felt different instead of just being on a set and just filming a recording booth. I don't know what it was, but I didn't feel hefty like acting from her. It just felt like she's just reading a script and like kind of trying, but not really. It just sounded like she wasn't really liking the script or what she's doing. So I didn't really like her performance in here, and her character was kind of like forgettable for me. Like, okay, it's supposed to be about you. I mean, they introduced some stuff later on that just kind of loses focus on her. But even the times that we are supposed to be focused on her, the story's about her, I just doesn't feel like that. Especially Stan plays Bucky again, and he does pretty well, but again, he also kind of sounds a little stiff as well. It just looks like the acting in here, some people just didn't sound good. I think Bradley Whitford was in this episode, I'm not sure. I guess he was like the better one, I guess. Or maybe I think Ross Marquand, who plays, I think, Red Skull, is, I think, the best one because he's always giving his all when he's doing these impersonations. So I guess he was good, but some of the other people, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the guy who plays Steve Rogers, I don't think that's Chris Evans. He's good, that's cool, but even some of the other voice acting, just kind of cheesy, man. Even that, who's playing Howard Stark in that episode? I mean, he tried. I will give it to him. I think he was trying, but it wasn't really working for me. So overall, yeah, it's just very disappointing. A lot of stuff in here just doesn't really work. The idea, it's not interesting, but they didn't put it all or anything to make it stand out and make it that different. It's not like you had the chance to be creative and do some cool stuff in here, and just in here it didn't feel like that. It just feel like kind of either restrained a little bit, maybe like, all right, we're just keeping it safe. We're gonna maybe change some things in here, but we're not gonna expand and have fun with the premise. It didn't feel like they were imaginative in this at all. Also, Jeffrey Wright, who's like the Watcher guy, he's fine. He sometimes speaks, like, I don't know, makes a little overacting sometimes a little bit. Like, I am Jeffrey Wright, and I am looking everywhere. I'm the Watcher. The whole episode, again, there's a cool idea in here, and I won't spoil that, which is cool at the beginning, but then it just kept on going and just didn't really care. I'm like, what are we doing in here? Yeah, by the end of it, just didn't really care, didn't really like it. It's kind of a weak start for me. I mean, we'll see if later on it gets better. I'll let you know. First episode for the beginning of the series, didn't really like it. Didn't feel the creativity. I didn't feel like the imagination, the expanding of the concept. I didn't feel much differences. It's just like you're watching the first movie all over again with some differences here and there. So that was just very, very disappointing. Even some stuff, the performances, the animation wasn't really good. So it's kind of a bad start. It's not terrible. It's kind of a bad start. I gotta give this episode a 6 out of 10. I personally didn't like this episode. I can't say it's bad. I mean, there's some stuff in here that you can enjoy. There's some things that don't make you like, wow, this is a bad product. It's just didn't really like it. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't really like. Some stuff that I kind of felt bad. It's just, I can't say overall it's bad. I just didn't like it. But hopefully in the future, things will get better. And again, I will tell you next week. Stay tuned for that review. But let me ask you guys, what did you think of episode 1 of What If? Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? What did you like? What didn't you like? Let me know in the comments below and let's talk about it. And also, what are you expecting for the show? What kind of storylines are you looking forward to see? What storylines would you like to see in season 2? If this gets to season 2, let's find out if it's very successful. Let me know in the comments below and actually talk about it. So yes, please stay tuned for episode 2 review. And if you also like this review, please give it a like, share, and subscribe for more reviews or different kind of content, because this channel is varied. There's a lot of stuff. If you want something, it's probably already here, or I'm gonna do it. So thank you guys again for watching. My name is Sebastián Productions. Yo seguiré aquí hablando shit.